The year is 1950. The ashes of World War II have long since settled, but the world is not at peace. Victory parades in Berlin and conquered Paris mark a terrifying new reality. The Nazi flag, a black spider on a field of blood red, now flies over most of Europe. France, once proud and defiant, now bows to Berlin. Italy, a former ally, is little more than a puppet state. Even the mighty British Empire crumbles under the weight of defeat, its colonies groaning under the Nazi yoke. The world watches in stunned silence. This is not the world we knew. This is a world where the Nazi nightmare has become a terrifying reality. A world where hope is a dangerous word, whispered in hushed tones behind closed doors. A world holding its breath, bracing for the future. The Soviet Union, battered but unbroken, stands as the sole bulwark against the Nazi juggernaut. Joseph Stalin, a tyrant facing another, tightens his grip on the Eastern Bloc. The Red Army, vast and ever watchful, mans the borders, a shield of steel against the Nazi threat. Within the Kremlin, Stalin plots and schemes. He knows that the Nazi beast, hungry for land and resources, will eventually turn its gaze eastward. The fate of the world hangs precariously in the balance, a deadly game of chess between two ruthless dictators. The world watches, holding its breath, as two titans prepare for a confrontation that could shatter the planet. The stakes have never been higher. The very survival of humanity hangs in the balance. The 1960s dawn with a new and terrifying chapter in this alternate history. The race for space becomes the new battleground. Germany, leveraging its plundered resources and stolen intellect, joins the Soviet Union in reaching for the stars. Wernher von Braun, a man who once dreamed of reaching Mars, now finds himself the architect of Nazi space ambitions. His rockets, symbols of both scientific progress and chilling ambition, pierce the heavens, carrying with them the hopes and fears of a world on edge. Each launch is a victory, a propaganda coup for the Nazi regime, but it is also a stark reminder of the fragility of peace. The world watches, captivated and terrified, as the spectre of Nazi Germany looms large over the earth and beyond. While the Nazi eagle spreads its wings over Europe, a different kind of struggle unfolds in the East. The United States, geographically isolated from the conflicts of Europe, finds itself locked in a deadly struggle with a resurgent Japan. The Pacific Ocean, once a vast expanse separating two worlds, has become a battleground. Island-hopping campaigns, echoing the bitter fighting of the previous decade, rage across the Pacific, each battle a bloody testament to the human cost of this new world order. The United States emerges victorious, but the cost is dear. Scarred and weary, America turns inward, seeking solace and stability in a world spiraling towards chaos. Section 5. A world divided. The 1970s arrive, a decade of uncertainty and fear. Nazi Germany, its grip on Europe secure, turns its gaze outward, seeking to expand its dominion. The Middle East, rich in oil and strategically vital, becomes the target of Nazi ambitions. The Soviet Union, ever vigilant, counters at every turn, bolstering its defenses and supporting anti-Nazi movements across the globe. The world descends into a state of uneasy tension, a powder keg waiting for a single spark to ignite a global conflagration. In this dangerous new world, alliances shift like desert sands. Espionage and subterfuge become the norm. Trust is a luxury few can afford, and the price of betrayal is often death. Section 6. The technological gauntlet. The 1980s usher in an era of technological advancement unlike anything the world has ever seen. Nazi Germany, driven by a thirst for power and fueled by stolen scientific knowledge, pours vast resources into research and development. Within hidden laboratories and secret research facilities, Nazi scientists work tirelessly, driven by the promise of unimaginable power. Their creations, ranging from advanced weaponry to sophisticated surveillance systems, threaten to tip the balance of power irrevocably. The United States, isolated and increasingly wary of the growing Nazi threat, invests heavily in its own clandestine projects. A technological arms race ensues, a high-stakes gamble where the future of humanity hangs in the balance. Section 7. The digital iron grip. The 1990s witnessed the dawn of the digital age. But in this twisted timeline, the internet emerges not as a tool of freedom and connection, but as an instrument of control and oppression. Nazi Germany, recognizing the power of this new technology, moves quickly to shape it in its own image. The internet becomes a web of surveillance, a panopticon monitoring every click, every message, every thought. The very concept of privacy ceases to exist as the Nazi state extends its totalitarian grip into the digital realm. Dissent, once whispered in hushed tones, is now all but silenced, crushed under the weight of constant surveillance. The human spirit, however, is not so easily extinguished. Even in the darkest corners of the digital world, flickers of resistance begin to emerge. Section 8. A World of Shadows. The 21st century dawns with the world firmly in the grip of two totalitarian superpowers, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. The rivalry between these two behemoths shapes every aspect of global affairs, from geopolitics and economics to culture and technology. Gone are the days of open warfare. Instead, the struggle for dominance plays out in the shadows, a complex web of espionage, propaganda, and technological one-upmanship. The world has become a chessboard, and the stakes have never been higher. Human rights, once considered sacrosanct, have been redefined, twisted to fit the ideologies of the ruling powers. Freedom of speech is a distant memory, replaced by carefully curated narratives designed to maintain control and quash dissent. Section 9. The Future Under Two Eagles. The year is 2025. The world is a vastly different place than the one we knew. The Nazi eagle, a symbol of hate and oppression, casts a long shadow over Europe. The Soviet bear, ever watchful, guards its vast territory with an iron fist. The United States, once a beacon of hope and freedom, has retreated into itself, a shadow of its former self. The American dream, once so bright and full of promise, has faded, replaced by a dull acceptance of a world dominated by fear and oppression. The future remains uncertain. The struggle for dominance continues, a high-stakes game of chess played on a global scale. The fate of humanity hangs precariously in the balance. Will the world succumb to the suffocating grip of totalitarianism, or will the embers of freedom somehow find a way to reignite, bringing light to a world shrouded in darkness?